welcome on back to another episode of Sitting Down with Soul Writer. Let's look at some things that you should consider when looking for a new editor, or whether or not you're realizing, did I learn everything I'm going to learn about from this editor before I move on to looking for someone else? Because that's okay too. Let's jam. Welcome on in, everybody. My name is Jenna O'Malley. I am your soul writer, author of sci-fi, fantasy, of dashes of romance, and nerdy references. And as many of you know, I've dabbled off and on between being either a freelance editor for nonfiction, trad, and whatnot, also now doing indie and whatnot as a service add-on to the ever-growing umbrella that is Soul Bard Productions, my parent company that I run and own and operate. I'm also an editor and a developmental book coach and a content creation coach. Why? Because I love doing all the nerdy things related to creating my dreams from the soul, apparently, as much as I enjoy helping fellow soul bards do the same. And with part of that, there's some conflicting mindsets I've come across with other coaches and editors traditionally trained in that they went to school to be an editor versus me coming at it from someone who did it part-time while also full-time teaching English and writing and things. So let's look at 5 things you could consider whenever you're A, looking for an editor, your first editor maybe, or B, asking yourself whether or not you and your editor you're working with have maybe met the impasse of this is all you're going to learn from each other, and that's okay too. Number 1, embrace your inner unique voice. You started writing this thing for a reason. Your vocal style matters so much. Therefore, you really need to make sure that you're honing your style. Yes, you should do the professional development, but also accept that you really shouldn't get too overly attached to anything in your writing, because you may learn how to do something better as you continue writing on down the road. This is the moment where a lot of us who have produced 5+ books or completed 5+ projects, publication included and not in that statement, we often go back to, what we wrote a couple of projects ago and go, ugh, I see where I myself have grown. So we're allowing your unique voice a chance to grow. This is where I, as a former straight A student, so long as it was an English class, stick me in a math class, I can almost guarantee you I will get a D by just working as hard as I would in any other class, because math does not brain my brain. So with that being said, I'm also acknowledging the fact that some of you probably feel that same way traditionally at some point in your younger years or earlier in your writing career about yourself and your own writing. Sometimes why we go cringe is because we often remember how we felt when we wrote those things. So allow your unique voice room to grow and own it every step of the way. It's okay that you feel a little cringe. You also need to honor that you have grown and give yourself forgiveness for your mistakes along the way. A good editor will help you see those things, help you either by teaching it to you one-on-one in some way yourself, or giving you supplemental resources of, say, a video or a workshop or whatever to go fix that for you if you want to long-term. Because ultimately, as I sometimes have a conversation with some of my authors and writers I work with, I say, you can keep paying me to fix the thing. I'm okay. That is part of why you pay me. You do realize you may get more efficient use of your editor if you have certain parts of your writing that need strengthening. It could make the editing process by including an editor or a beta reader or a critique partner run a little bit more efficiently for you on that end too, as you also grow. So definitely let me also take a back up and say, number 2, most of what we give you are pure suggestions. Own your unique voice to the point that what we give you are suggestions. We may give you persuasions or evidence or grammar rules and conventional prescriptive writing, keyword prescriptive, not organic necessarily writing advice here. We're trying to help you conform to what sells, while also my greater part to focus on is to make sure that we polish and shine what is strongest, to let what is good about the manuscript stand out at the forefront. Not all editors feel that way, and there are some editors I know who, if you've read one of their book clients, you've read all their book clients, because that editor tends to unify a type of voice for their authors. If that is the kind of editor you want to be, so be it, but Also, that kind of plays a little bit maybe into the type of clients you want to serve. I tend to serve a diverse female population. I help people who live in Canada, Australia, Africa, all the way around the world. So definitely need to allow for that unique voice, because not everyone's going to sound like they're from the mid-Atlantic US, right? Right. And Jenna needs to remember that. Therefore, number 3, don't let their voice become a megaphone for your inner worst critic. This is where I caution a lot of writers who aren't necessarily new writers, but maybe new to a project or new to a type of writing. Say, for example, with me, I went from being an overwriter in novel world to the point of epic fantasy is questionably included, to getting used to writing short stories and novellas by force of an editor suggesting that. Seriously, because it was to counteract something I was weak at. Being a concise one-point writer, I like to overwrite because I come from the academic world of things. And also probably emulate Grandpa Tolkien more than I should, as one of his fantastical grandchildren. So therefore, don't let your inner critic take everything that your author help team will call them, to include critique partners, proofreaders, beta readers, editors, and more. Don't let them become a megaphone for your inner critic. Been there, done that. Probably shouldn't have gotten all the t-shirts every time I've gone around that cycle, okay? Totally hear it from both the editor services end and the creator author end, as someone who hires out for that kind of help on occasion still. Therefore, instead, number 4, I entice you to look for someone who's part of your author services and writer support team that is a cheerleader. One of the greatest compliments I get is feedback from my clients, and as you can see on my testimonials, a lot of them are, upholding of the fact that she's a cheerleader. She'll convince you to keep writing even when you don't feel like it. Yeah, because I've been there, done that, and I don't know why I just bought a new t-shirt recently, but I did as a reminder, apparently, of that tour and how it can rock once in a while. And ultimately, look for someone who resonates with you, with the kind of support you need, not just to do the technical edit things, but also how do they support you where you are. I'm saying this as a former English teacher, not someone who has a 4.0 in their bachelor's degree that has a focus on English, okay? I'm saying this as a former English teacher. I know K-12 education did a lot of you dirty here in the US. I've taught it, is why I'm saying that. So I know that not a lot of you got what you felt you needed as a foundation to be a good writer. Therefore, look for an editor or a beta reader or a critique partner or whomever you need who can fill in and help you scaffold and build and make those skills stronger, okay? This is a big area where I wish more editors had an educational background. A lot of them do, some of them don't. And normally the ones who do appreciate that ability to help you scaffold and grow, not just edit for you. Now, if that's what you want, is just be like, look, no fluff, just, unless it's reader feedback, just edit it for me. I have a couple clients who are like that. They're like, look, I pay you for a reason, that's fine. Know what you want from your client here also applies for those of you who are hanging with us on Thursdays occasionally for the edit shift, to build your author and writer services businesses that way, or to look for and collaborate with people of those service mindsets. And finally, number 5, ultimately, trust your instincts. I have heard so many nightmare stories in the last year of being an editor and coach for and with indie authors of editors doing them very badly. I mean, like, you should change the insert important thing about how the character looks, behaves, or their background that matters, okay? I'm not just looking at, like, the stuff my books tend to be anti about, but also other populations who, I've had clients, current and former, that I've worked with say, I've had past editors and coaches say, I shouldn't have a character who's plus size. Excuse you, what? Our goddess sized and godlike figure sizes aren't welcome? Excuse you. I've also had former clients say that their character shouldn't be middle age, shouldn't have XYZ disability, shouldn't have XY thing in their background. We're starting to see this divide of what an editor should be. Instead of looking at the debate at a large scale. I'm going to entice you both as an editor seeking to work with writers and authors, and as an author or a writer looking to find maybe an editor. Write down what is important to you as part of that conversation. What kind of supports do you give versus what's being received? What kind of experience do you want to have on either side of that equation? And look at the ways that really truly you're being challenged to grow on both sides of the equation. If you want to hang out with us on the edit shift a couple times a week, we'll see you Thursdays, a few times a month actually, I should say correctly. Go ahead and comment below. How's your current project doing? And let's go ahead with a rainbow, because it is June and it just rained and there's probably rainbows outside. So above all, take care of yourself. Your voice matters now more than ever for sure. Dang it.